Welcome back to Curse, Code, and Crown, a live play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition podcast featuring a fully original world and campaign. I am the wizard Cronox, observer of time. Curse, Code, and Crown features our regular voiceover artists and improvisers, Laura Elizabeth as the Orcountant Eta, Tyler Hewitt as Makka Deathcap, and Ryan LaPlante as Duncan Danno, alongside our dungeon master, the incredible Tom McGee. So get ready for an adventure including thrills, chills, and hope for a brighter tomorrow. It's time for Curse, Code, and Crown!
The unrotted corpses of Bleen speak in one voice and rise, coughing and hacking, spewing spores into the air as the people in the balcony begin to scream. Spores entering through their mouth, their nose, their ears, seemingly almost through their very pores. As one, the bodies stand and look with one singular focal point around the room in unison, and in a chorus of voices of different timbre and tone, of different volume and character, they collectively say, "I find you all guilty. I brought you gifts. I brought your world life, and you squandered it. Now, rather than the mercy of Jossie, you will taste the wrath of Jossie." And two of the corpses burst, spraying spores and viscera in all directions. Gwendolyn, you're a suit of armor, so you're fine. Makka, you have your own spore field, so you are fine. But Duncan and Eta, I need, I think probably con saves to see how fast you're able to, don't necessarily think of this as I breathed in a bunch of spores, what happens to me? But kind of treat it as a combination of trying not to breathe and probably trying to fashion a makeshift handkerchief. So I'd say I need a con save, or I'll take a survival save. Either would be appropriate for the situation.
Survival save?
Oh, just a survival check, but treat it like a save.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm going to do that one.
I mean, strictly speaking, skill checks aren't the same as saves, but I think I would buy that if I saw a bunch of spores coming out of things as they were getting up, because it's not like they burst immediately, they had a little speech. You have time to be like, oh, fuck, I'm going to piss in a rag and stuff it in my face so I don't get killed by chlorine gas. You have a moment to react real fast.
You say I have a moment, Tom, but I rolled a nat 1, so I'm pretty sure I got hit right away. I don't think I had a moment.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think I instinctively jumped in front of the princess in armor who can't breathe.
I buy that. I wholeheartedly buy that. I also feel like as a duelist, your instinct would likely be to take a long, deep breath so that you wouldn't have to worry about breathing once you got into combat. And unfortunately, it was just a full lung full of spores. And what'd you get?
It's funny because I rolled a 2, which brings me to 4.
Cool. Spore to meet you.
To be clear, I think Gwendolyn's oh, it's great. Oh, Jossie's just targeting all the assholes here. We're fine.
All right. So
before she sees everyone collapsing around her.
Yeah. Eta and Duncan, you're going to take 8 points of poison damage. Yikes. And I need a con save from you, please.
Con save. 17.
Actually, Ryan, I don't need one from you because you rolled a 1, so you're just going to get auto hit.
Okie dokie.
Eta, you're fine. Duncan, you are now poisoned, which means you have disadvantage on attacks and on strength-related things. And you will also take damage at the start of your next turn. You can roll to save at the end of your turn.
Okay.
But the spores hit you hard. Eta, I think you spend enough time in dusty libraries. The minute you start to cough and sneeze, you just stop breathing to sort that because not your first first rodeo. But the people in the grandstands begin to scream and fall. A few of them fall off down into the courtroom floor. You see Mowgli just full on like closing his eyes and like batting at them as they begin to fly into his mouth. And you see Dennis trying to pull Murdoch away as she begins to cough up a black fluid, which you can see now leaking from the nose, the ears, and the eyes of the people in the stands as the room descends into chaos. Roll for initiative, please.
Would this count as disadvantage, Tom, with poison?
Yeah, I think so. Not officially, but unofficially.
That's a 2 for Makka.
All right.
11 for Duncan.
At disadvantage. Very nice.
10 and 10 for Gwendolyn and Anita.
Cool. And
our dex is equivalent.
all right. Remarkably, you do all trump the initiative because I rolled a 1 for the infected.
Nice.
So I'll also say you can use this time to talk as you're doing your actions. So consider these next 4 turns. So like Duncan, Ida, and Gwendolyn, and Makka, you're able to kind of like speak to each other as you're doing stuff and able to kind of react in the order you would because you're using free actions to talk before the corpses go. So top of the round, Duncan.
Cool. Duncan is going to jump over the divider and just get as fucking on top of and close to Makka as possible. Like he just wants to ride this nice, safe spore distance to the only guy who can control spores.
Sorry.
I take damage.
Yep. So you take 12 points of damage from your poison. However, as soon as you enter Makka's spore field, you can feel the effects already starting to abate, and you will not need to roll to save.
Okay, cool.
Makka's halo has counteracted the spores.
Makka, I have 2 questions for you. They're kind of dark, but it's what there is. A, can we do anything for this crowd? And B, should we?
I must be released from the shackles that bind my magic in this place. I wish
Is he wearing like a magic collar, Tom, or what's he got? That's
you get the sense that the room itself is enchanted in a way that deadens the magical effects. The judge could likely loosen this. Or one of the first swords, but it's not like a magic collar like we've used in Dum Dums. There's a magic field that is targeted on him. It's not targeted on the rest of you. But yeah, you get the sense it's specific to him. So the judge is coughing up black fluid, but does seem to be still within her right mind for the moment, at least, behind the podium.
I think he'll just
the second question, right? Sorry. Second question was the answer to that would basically be like, we must help these people. This is the blight. This is what happens when the cluster and the cycle is meddled with. It must be stopped. It must not be allowed to spread.
All right, then, Judge, what's your face? Unleash the spore beast here and he can try to shut this down.
You can see her head lolling as she kind of stumbles around, kind of like batting at her face, trying to get the spores away. You can likely, she looks like she has maybe a turn, not this turn, but like one more turn left of consciousness. If you can get to her, you might be able to convince her, but from here, there's too much chaos.
Makka, you got to get to the judge. The only reason I'm not doing that is because I'm right here with you.
Yes.
Right. And then can he delay his second part of his action to just do a second movement? He'll just go with Makka instead of standing here and sending Makka.
You can use that second motion. Oh, but you want to stay within his halo. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha. Yep, absolutely. Sure. Next up, Gwendolyn.
I think Gwendolyn. I think she'll just basically. I think for a moment she's confused. So she kind of turns to Makka and be like, "Wait, so right, this is not Jossie, right? This is like bad people who like we're being right. We're not fighting Jossie, right?
This
is so
corruption.
we put them down, right?"
Makka's answer to you is, this is corruption. All other variables do not matter.
Gwendolyn, can you roll me an insight?
5.
Fair enough.
I think I just take like a running jump and I try to body slam the wagon. I just kind of crush someone.
Yep, go for it. Just go ahead and roll your attack.
Okay. This is okay. That's a 13 to hit.
That will not hit.
Okay. So I don't know. I slam the side of the wagon and it does nothing.
Oh no, you slam into a body and the body hits the ground because the wagon's like dumped everyone out. So like you slam into a body and knock it to the ground and you feel its arm crack under it as it hits the ground. And you've got it like pinned to the ground face down. And you hear a snap as its spine cracks as the head twists 360 to look at you. And the turtle just says through sort of vaguely slack jaw, "You dare raise your hand against Jossie?"
And then as my second, can I take my second attack right then? And then I just want to like fist and face as hard as I can.
Sure, go ahead.
And that is a 20 total to hit.
That will hit.
Okay. Remind me what's just a plain melee attack? And what's the damage? Anyone know? I always forget.
It would be a D4 with a fist, but your fists are gauntlets, so I'm going to say it's a D6.
Oh, that's
plus
nice.
your strength. Yeah.
Plus my strength, yeah. All right. That's 7 damage.
Cool. So you just like punch it in the face, and you feel skull crack under your fist. And as the kind of impacted orbital and lost eye turn to you, it just kind of undulates and it vomits out spores as a reaction. So Gwendolyn,
I want to like cover it with my body.
yeah, when you hear what the spores do, I don't think that's gonna help.
No, just to like not put them in the air or like spew towards my friends.
I understand it's spewing specifically into you, like it's
okay, good.
Vomit at
okay,
you.
Good. That's fine.
Yeah, this is a different problem than you expected. I don't think okay, good is going to be your feeling in a moment, but
I
we'll
need
see.
a con save, please.
Con save. What's Gwendolyn con? 11.
No dice. Also, I would totally go to Gwendolyn con. I'm just saying, like, once the world is reopened, let's do it. All right. So you're going to take 5 points of damage, and the spores begin to coagulate around your joints, and you can feel them starting to gum up your armor. Ita. Oh, I'm sorry. Was the enemy's attack not what you wanted?
Obviously not.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll take it back then. Never mind.
You don't have to take it back.
It gives you a high five.
I'm also not going to be. I'm not going to pretend to be happy about it, Tom.
I understand.
Like, come on,
Tom. If Gwendolyn's going to turn down the high five in 2 levels, Duncan will take them.
No.
I would like to switch my held action.
I'm sorry. It's only for royals, not for players.
No.
Just like inheritance law, it's not for us.
Okay, so I think. How many guys do we got? Or how many?
There are 11 corpses were dumped. You are currently wailing on. We'll say number 1 just for ease of tracking. Ryan, you're
11 corpses, but also the air is hostile.
Yeah,
and that gallery is about to get real hostile too. So that's what you got so far.
Yeah. I'm just checking to see if there's anything. I mean, like, I kind of, I think I just like looked at Duncan like, do we just run?
I'm sorry, there are 9 because 2 of them burst.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. We got to stay by the turtle. He's the only thing that isn't exploding or dying.
Okay, then. So I will perform a droid analysis on whoever's closest to me, because I think this is just like take out as quickly as possible.
A droid analysis is, forgive me, it's been a hot second.
Yeah, so basically,
yeah,
it's a bonus. It's a bonus action.
Mhm.
So I can analyze like the movement patterns and fighting
Perfect.
style, and it
Mhm.
just gives me like a bonus when I attack.
Cool. Based on the nature of the children of Jossie, you actually gain that against all of them because they are, even though they're operating individually, they clearly are part of a hive mind. And as a result, although they're all acting independently, the type of movement and attack and everything else that I think a droid analysis would give you is true of all of them. Like, it's not like individual fighting styles are on display. It's everything is, you're essentially analyzing the controlling forces style as represented by these. And I think for Ita, that would be very abundantly clear immediately in a way that it wouldn't necessarily be to everyone else who's like horrified by, embalmed corpses jumping up and spewing spores everywhere. For you're like, oh yes, they all move in the same way. I understand.
Okay. In that case, I think I'm gonna have to try to confound them.
Yep.
All. And I just have to think of a potent word to say to them.
To affect an enraged spore goddess.
Yeah. Who? That's interesting.
It's worth noting, Ida hasn't been with the group or on this adventure very much, so she likely would not consider it one sentient being, but rather individual zombie monsters.
Yeah, so I think she she just says like true death. That's it.
Okay. And what do I need to roll?
Intelligence saving throw, please.
Okay. I got a 20.
Well,
20.
That beats my DC 14. So you'll take half damage anyways, though.
Okay.
Plus, I think I plus 3. 9, 12. So, I mean, you'll take 6 psychic damage. Like, that's
honestly
something.
that is not bad.
That's something.
Largely because you see all of them turn to you in whatever form of like combat they're doing. But Ita, they all, as you yell this as one, some of them kind of over their shoulder, but all of them turn in one voice, say, "This is what you people robbed yourselves of." But you do see them all kind of like twitch with the psychic damage of it. More importantly, you see all of them take that damage.
Ooh. Interesting. Ooh. Hurts one, hurts them all, perhaps. I do not know. Maybe only for me.
I think only in their mind. Gwendolyn punched one and the rest of them didn't explode.
Well, then perhaps we should all use psychic damages against them.
First of all, I don't know what psychic damage is. Second of all, I'm a sword guy. And third, I don't have a friggin' sword.
Makka.
Let me ask you this, Tom. Am I able to use my action to use my ability Symbiotic Entity, which beefs me up, or is that being suppressed as well? It's not
I would
spell
give
per
you.
se, but
I would give you Symbiotic Entity, yeah, because it's as we've determined from the Halo still operating when Duncan came over. I think an anti-magic, like, dampener, I guess. I don't think would affect spores. Also, it was never designed for that. It's meant to be like, you can't put a wizard on trial if they can fireball the judge.
Sure.
But I don't think it would affect this because I don't think it was built for this. So yes, I think you could absolutely use symbiotic energy.
Okay. So I'm going to use that as an action just in preparation for the conflict ahead.
Sure.
Gives me a bunch of temporary hit points and just generally makes me tankier and beefier. And I will grasp Duncan's arm, and kind of like move across the courtroom over to the judge.
Okay, cool. So you approach the stand, and everyone is out of order at this point. Hazel Kell is again like slapping at her face violently as this black ooze kind of like streams from her eyes and her nose, and her mouth and her ear holes, just kind of like giving her kind of a running mascara look, but if that was made of horrors. But she's clearly very distracted. So how do you attempt to focus her on your request?
I will reach up to her podium and grab her by her robes and pull her into my face and say, "Release me."
Cool. Can you roll a... forgive me, it's been an age since we dealt with this. What is the ability we've been attributing the cluster to?
It has been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think
Wisdom?
it usually goes wisdom. The modifier for nature and religion is the same for me, so I feel like we've done it interchangeably.
Yeah, let's use that. I think the argument is,
but whatever.
This is, your words don't matter because she's being infected.
I was hoping bringing her in would.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. So let's roll based on the cluster to see if, essentially, in a battle of wills, if your spores are able to make some room for her to actually hear this. With Duncan, it was easier because he didn't breathe as deeply of them. Also, it doesn't seem to be affecting his physiology the same way. It's in the ballpark, but it's not quite the same. But for Kell, she's like deep in it.
Okay. So I'll roll a religion for my...
Sure. Yeah, I like that. Yep. It literally is a will save.
A natural one.
Ooh. She just looks at you, and she goes slack in your arms, and with just great disappointment in her voice says, "I chose you to help them understand, and you, Makka, are my greatest disappointment." And then she bites your face. Take 8 points of damage as she just chomps full on against your face and just starts like clawing at it, grasping at it, spewing spores at you. Your spores are kind of countermanding it, but it is an unpleasant experience.
Yeah, I'd say that sounds about right. Then I'll release my hold on her if I can. I don't know how much more action I've got.
I think it's safe to say that doing this isn't she's not like grabbing your wrists or anything. She's just like nomming at your face. So you kind of pull back, and you and Duncan are at the stand, which brings us to the children of Jossie. So the screams begin to choke off around the room. Where there was panic, sounds of sort of almost a mulching begin as the people in the stands stop writhing and fighting and begin to rise as one. Similarly, the echoing screams outside the courtroom begin to fall silent. There are now 32 children of Jossie in the courtroom with you. There are still people resisting, but on their initiative, there are now 32. in
Well, I
terms
hate to
of
say this for you, Makka, but I think the official ruling is we run. We need to get our shit from the prison and get the fuck out of this kingdom.
Makka won't say anything. I think he's still processing.
Yep, understood. All right. And then the children begin to attack. So I'm going to say of the 9 original remaining children, the ones that have just risen do not go this turn. They'll go next turn. Of the 9, a bunch of them are focused on other people. But 2 of them go for Gwendolyn, 2 of them go for Ita, and I don't think the rest of them are near the judges' stand. I think they were kind of in the center, and they kind of went at the crowd, so they're not on Duncan and Makka. Gwendolyn, what is your AC?
My AC is 20.
Okay. All right. So the both of them miss with their kind of like just paws, like they're just swinging their turtle claws at you. But then they begin to vomit spores at you. So I need a con save, please, at disadvantage since the spores are already taking root in your armor.
Okay. Fuck, I really don't have anything to help me here. All right. That's a 14.
Okay, wow. Yeah, you just sneak by. So you're still going to take between the 2 of them 10 points of damage.
Okay.
But you are not poisoned. Poisoned, of course,
that's nice.
as we've described for Gwendolyn, not meaning like, oh no, my blood is poisoned, but like in this case, your armor being so gummed up that it's no longer reacting properly. Yep. But you manage to just like hinge I think you do like a full body undulation of just like running all your joints and kind of cracking your helmet. And it's just enough to get the gum out. It's still sticky, but it's not awful yet.
Cool.
Cool. And then 2 on Ita. Ita, what is your AC?
Ooh, not as good. That's 13.
13. Okay, one of them hits. One of them rolls a crit fail, though. So I think as it goes to vomit this, or as it kind of lurches in, this corpse was actually a victim of murder. And as a result, it goes to swing, but there's such heavy lacerations around its sort of shoulder and chest that the arm just falls off. So like an arm just fucking full on slap bumps against Ida's face and falls off, but there's no...
So we could say it's disarmed?
Yes, you could. And Harrison Ford will blame it for his wife's death moving forward because it's now a one-armed man. But the other one hits, so that will be... It's for 10 damage.
Yeah.
11 damage, and then... an additional 7 poison.
Ooh. Yikers.
And with that, the rest of the bodies begin to rise. Top of the round, Duncan.
Makka, if we go over there and fight them, I'm going to last literally at maximum about 12 seconds. I cannot win in this fight. I am an unarmed man and fighting poison. We need to get out of here and find some weakness. Otherwise, we're just fighting an endlessly expanding horde.
Will you leave now, Duncan?
I should just go?
Yes. You are in danger and, as you say, at a great disadvantage.
Yes, but you're in danger too, so's the rest of them. I don't think you can beat 40 of these things by yourself.
Nor do I.
So Duncan, can you roll me an insight check, please?
That is a 19.
With the knowledge you gained from the confession document, you know there might be a way to turn this around. And based on what you've seen, you have no fucking clue how you or Gwendolyn could do that. might be the only way to convince Makka is to gently nudge him on that. There's something to be said for like, yes, fight to save your people. It's nothing to be like, if we go, we might be able to save them. Now, Tyler, to be clear, I'm not prescribing this is how Makka will take it, but Duncan, this is something that occurs to you in the moment.
Makka, we need to go. I understand you want to stay and fight, but if you stay and fight here, you lose. We have to get to Orville, liberate Orville, get into the treasury, and then get you that antibody cure that'll actually fix all these turtles. Otherwise, you die here, I die here, they all die here, Jassy wipes out the world, there is no death, the end, you failed.
Duncan, go now. I will cover your escape and see you outside.
All right, that sounds pretty good to me. Now, the front looks a little bit, complicated, so I think I'm going to go out the back, and he'd like to book it for the door that first sword Kel came through.
Yep.
Behind the judge's podium, because that seems a lot better than the 1,000.
Can you roll me a dexterity save? Now that there are more of them rising, there are grasping hands, and unfortunately, unlike like little weedy human zombies, these are turtles. So even at lumbering and kind of non-dexterous, they're just very big and very heavy. Yeah.
Yes. All right, let's see what we got. Oh yeah, that be a 27.
So you begin to run, and it's just like it's a full-on. I'm thinking specifically. This is such a weird, obscure reference, but in the trailer for Assassin's Creed 3, they showed Connor just like running through a full battlefield and just like parkouring like over British soldiers with his like axes in hands, just being like, fuck it. So I think it's that. It's like you're just crawling over people and like ducking under grasping hands. But they're just so fucking many, and they're starting to rain from the ceiling. Vice Presidentia Rootback falls like pretty much in front of you. You stumble over him, kind of roll over his back, feel the spikes on the back of his shell, like those like snapping turtle points, just kind of dig into you. But you manage to get over. You're booking it for the door, but it just seems just far enough away that you're not sure if you're going to make it. And then a hand kind of grabs you by the shirt when you're near, and you just see Chestnut Kel with just black goo like running out of his chest and out of the cracks in his shell and out of his eyes. And he just like with what he's got left says, "Save us." And he throws you forward. And with the momentum, you're able to kind of shoulder your way out of the door. You burst out into the night. The early morning air hits you like quite literally a breath of fresh air. You didn't realize just how moldy that room smelt, but with that amount of spores in the air, it really felt like just a Tupperware that had not been opened for quite some time. You take a breath of fresh air and look around, and you can see fire and chaos all around you. Admittedly, and this is so weird, this situation would have been so much worse if you hadn't burned all those bodies, but it is still very bad. You can see that the corpses remaining throughout Bleen are spewing spores. You can see that this effect is slowly infecting the entire city, and you're sure that anywhere the blight is, this is spreading. At which point you hear a very aggressive ribbit, and looking down, there's a clank of metal as Dennis, the seeing eye frog, spits out your and Gwendolyn's weapons. Behind him on the chain is the unmoving body of Murdoch, who is leaking this kind of black goo from her nose and ears, but also does not seem to be moving at all. And Dennis just gives you a real serious nod and then gestures over his shoulder. A little ways away, you can see of the many kind of small boats that are used to get between the various islands. There's one that's a little bit larger. From this distance, you can see the presidential logo kind of on a little like pennant that's hanging off. You know, like on gondolas, there's often those little poles that have like the lantern hanging from them.
Mhm.
So there's that, and then there's just a small pinion that has the Presidentia seal of the conglomerata. Consortium. I was thinking about Dum Dums of Future Past, but it's clearly the Presidentia's boat. It is a little bit, you can tell even from here, it's better built. The other ones all seem kind of disposable. This one seems a bit heavier. It's got proper oars that are built in and looks like it could actually get you out on the water if you needed to. But if you're looking for a quick escape, this seems like the way out.
Fabulous. We got a winner. He's going to book it for that fucking boat.
Great.
I mean, he'll pat Dennis on the head and then like take the stuff and be like, do you want to get out of here? Or are you staying with I think they might eat you.
Dennis kind of looks at you. He gives you like a proper like Wolverine, where he just kind of like looks at you and he looks back at Murdoch, and then like he kind of like his giant frogly mouth just kind of tightens, and he just kind of like both these big stupid eyes turn back towards the building, and he just starts like frogging towards the building angrily, like slowly getting into like the full Sabretooth lope. And Murdoch is just kind of being bounced along behind him.
All right, we're going to let that happen. And then he's just going to turn and book it for the boat.
Great. Back inside, we have Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn, you get up from the corpse you fell on, and all of a sudden you find your arm just almost against your will, cranking straight outward. And you kind of crank your helmet to it in shock. At which point the Elos blade flies into your hand, and you see Dennis just with like a proper like Popeye, I'm gonna fuck some people up face, having spat it towards you, and you're comforted by the holding that sweet grip in your hand. But Duncan literally just pieced the fuck out, so that's usually a pretty good indicator that it's time to go. What do you do?
I think I yell, I look back to Ida to make sure it's like, does she have a way out?
Ida, what do you do?
Ida's just like, I think she's also like kind of looking around. It's like, they have gone. We are done here. Yes.
I feel like we're gearing toward it was like very famously on a bunch of the posters, but that moment in A New Hope where it's like Luke and Leia swinging across the chasm, except like it's Gwendolyn armor grabbing Ida around the waist, being like, "We're getting out of here." And Ida's being like, "I guess I'm along."
That's pretty much.
Amazing. All right, Gwendolyn found a damsel to save. This is very funny. Cool.
Because I do think like Gwendolyn would just be like throw the Ellis blade, and just like she can attack twice now, so it's like just like do like a chop to like anyone who's like between them and the door, just like grab Ida.
So can I ask then, Laura, let's roll 2 attacks, and rather than dealing with damage or anything else, given that you're obviously up against insurmountable odds, we'll actually treat this as how much clearance does the sword buy you on your way out.
Okay. Ooh, this is fun. I just realized I can actually do 3 attacks now, because I can do 2 attacks normally, and then the bonus is that I can throw the weapon and attack. So why don't I use swipe to clear immediately in front of me, and then
just Captain America your way out the door?
Yeah.
All right, sure.
Essentially. So you want me to roll 3 then?
Yes, please.
Just straight 3? Okay. 15, 11, and a nat 20.
Very interesting. Okay. So you fail with 2, you succeed with the nat 20. So I think we'll say the nat 20 prevents Ida from taking damage. You manage to start fighting your way towards the door, but it is at this point now hell going. Chestnut has now fallen sideways off of his chair and is now clearly in the full thrall of Jossie. So there's no cool assist on the way out the door now as he begins to claw his way towards you with strength. So you get a bit of the way out. But Gwendolyn, I think you rapidly realize that this isn't a clean escape vector, bringing us to Makka. You see Duncan escape, but Gwendolyn and Ida are kind of like near the door, but getting bogged down in bodies. I am so fucking curious. What do you do?
That's Not a lot I can do. The release the magic bindings from me Gambit didn't work. So I'm going to.
Sorry, one thing for you, bud. She couldn't do it because the check failed.
Yeah.
If you kill her, it might drop.
I'm not gonna murder someone on a might. I will just from deep within, just from his belly, just let out like a sorrowful war cry, and just he will run and basically just linebacker, basically try to grab as many bodies as he can that are impeding their escape and just push.
Okay.
So does this moment have the bowling ball strike sound effect behind it?
It depends on if this even works.
All right. So Tyler, I think
because the shell hits the shells and
yeah. Or just like the Mario Koopa kick. If this were like 3.5 or 4, we could just roll a bull rush, but it isn't. So I think probably I kind of want to say like how are you thinking of this? I would say probably a strength.
I would say strength.
Yeah. I'd also take are you trained in athletics?
I'm not trained in it. No.
Okay. Then no, let's just take strength. So yeah, strength save, please. And I'll give you advantage for like infinite rage at the corruption of your god, your people, and your goal.
Okay. And do you want? Oh, I don't think it matters. Yeah, the modifier is the same for strength or for roll or save. That's a dirty 20.
Very good. So just with like I think proper impotent rage of just like it's there's a point at which everything that you could like everything you've ever studied or trained for, thought about, dreamt, channeled, none of it's working. That's some fucking deep. That's a deep well to tap, and it's not a good well to tap, and it comes with a lot of consequence, which we'll deal with later. But yeah, with just pure rage, weirdly, I think we almost see the Makka that the kobolds encountered in the swamp for a moment. Not that he fought them, but just with no sense of magic or spores or being a gravekeeper, you're just a fucking angry creature, and you run as hard as you can as the children of Jossie grab at you and spew spores and yell just horrific, disappointing things at you about how you failed and about how if she can't help the world to renew, then she will see it burn. And just a sense of like, I wanted you all to enter a cycle, but now I see the cycle must end. They will all be mine. At which point you burst out of the back door, kind of like pushing. I think you didn't even necessarily notice that like Gwendolyn and Ida were in your way, but it's almost like you didn't track it. You just throw people off from both sides and are kind of like heaving. Gwendolyn, we've got like a Russian nesting doll of like you picked up Ida and ran, and then Makka picked up you and ran, and then kind of dumped both of you outside. The three of you see Duncan at the Presidentia's boat, just kind of like gesturing wildly to come. But Makka, this is your first chance to see what's occurring, and as you look around, you see that your fear of the spreading of this is well-founded, but also your worst fear has come true. Beleen has fallen, and the corrupted god Jossie has risen. High above you in the sky, you see a crescent moon facing downward. And for the first time, you don't see it as a sign of hope or a sign of peace. You see it as an ill omen. a bad moon on the rise, if you will. Gwendolyn, I think you're immediately scrambling up and like grabbing Ida, who is like, I assume doing the full like Velma, like pushing her glasses up her nose as she's being dragged towards the boat.
Yeah. Gwendolyn sees a bathroom on the right and she's like, oh, I don't have to go to the bathroom anymore.
Very good.
Sorry, that's very obscure joke. Anyways.
No, I like it because it's a misheard lyric to Bad Moon on the Rise.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you no longer need bathrooms. But yeah, you take off in this moment of high dramatic tension, but also misheard lyrics. Ida, what are you saying as you're being dragged by? I feel like being dragged around by people is both something that happens to Ida a lot, but also something she probably doesn't love.
Well, it's okay. What's really funny is that Ida, when like to carry things, like determining her carrying capacity, she actually counts as a large creature.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as she's being carried, she's like, this is so inefficient. If she's like saying to Gwendolyn, like, if I was carrying you, we would be moving faster.
And
Gwendolyn, for the record, weighs 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gwendolyn, what do you say to that?
She says, yeah, but I'm Alma, so I'm like, oh, I might not be sturdier than you.
At which point Ida scoops you up, like carrying you across the wedding threshold way, and just like fucking takes off running with the armor. And yeah, Duncan, I think you watch all of this and knowing that are just kind of like, oh God, she's being opposite. Oh no. Oh, she learned. Okay, good.
She
good.
questioned her assumptions.
I mean, still, you just want to get everyone out of there, but it's a nice moment to see. And thus was launched the carrying twice over that launched 1,000 ships in the fandom, no doubt. Makka, you watch Gwendolyn get scooped up and Ida is running her to the boat. Duncan is gesturing wildly from the boat. Outside of the courtroom, you feel Hazel Kell die. And your magic returns to you. You can see your friends as Ida kind of like steps into the boat with Gwendolyn, kind of helps her down, gesturing to you. Ahead are your friends waiting for you to join. Behind are the people that you swore to take care of and to help, burning, dying, and embracing a corrupted god. You have a rather important choice to make. Makka Deathcap, what do you do?
I think as a sort of secret affirmation, I attempt to cast Flaming Sphere.
Okay.
Does the spell manifest?
It does.
Okay. So that in itself is something. And Makka, I think, consciously sort of reprimands himself and sort of mutters, there will be time to think on this later. And I will cast Flaming Sphere to roll in front of me, clearing any enemies as I run behind it down to the boat.
Okay. The sphere rolling ahead of you, turtles lurch out of the darkness and are rebuked by the fires. And finally reaching the waterfront. It's kind of like that classic like swamp, kind of wading into the swamp, crawling up onto the ship. I think probably keeping the Flaming Sphere running behind you to just kind of cover your escape.
Actually, no, I would basically, it would like roll to the docks and then just like completely dissipate until just like open flames in the air and it would be gone. This is a boat that we're getting on that has sails, right?
Actually, yes, this one would. It has, but think like it is still a very small boat, but it has a singular triangular sail.
It does have a sail for catching the wind.
If you get out on water. Again, you get the sense that it's not meant for like long voyages, but certainly longer than the little, like, as we've talked about, fairly disposable little like almost canoe gondola situations. Okay. So think in modern terms, it's like those single sail. I can't remember the actual name for them, but like if you're going windsurfing, it's like that size of sail. So it's not huge, but it's big enough that it can get you a little bit of extra speed.
Makka would position himself at the back of the the boat and cast Gust of Wind and blow it directly into the sail.
Okay, so Duncan, as you begin
It just becomes
to row,
a wind tunnel.
Suddenly you could just get like hit in the back with wind, like your hat blows off in front of you at your feet, and the sail above you fills, which honestly is a great sign. Like you're not even pissed off that you got hit in the back with wind and dropped your oars. As the boat shoots forward, knocking aside the small skiffs around it. As you kind of look back over your shoulders, you collectively see Bleen begin to burn. But the most horrific part of it is when the screaming stops. And instead, you just hear in one voice, "First this, then the world." And with that, your small craft barrels through kind of the swamp ways and out onto open water. You have a brief moment together in the aftermath of this before your voyage begins. Is there anything you want to say before the small craft enters a large unknown future?
Well, do you think there's any way that we could get like Jossie and like the Sinkai to like battle each other and just like do each other in?
That Jossie did not enlist me in this corruption, and that I still feel her power flow through me in the form of my magic, tells me that there is more going on here. Tells me there is perhaps an imposter, perhaps a fracturing of Jossie.
Oh.
Perhaps something else entirely.
Well, if Jossie, or whatever, I've got to use the term Jossie because they use the name Jossie, but if Jossie is capable of spreading through spores and perhaps adjusting to absorbing other species, conflict with the Sinkai is inevitable because this kind of plague can't be stopped in a traditional means. This will require the Alliance, this will require everyone if we want to have a hope of stopping this, perhaps the greatest scientific minds of our time. But there's one thing I will tell you now. When we cure this goddess and we find the sample we need to return to her, if the turtles are still alive after this black fog is removed, we'll need to try the leaders for the crimes that have been enacted due to their actions. But at the same time, Makka, and I say this with great respect, we will have to try the goddess as well for her crimes against the people of this world.
My faith in Jossie is yet unshaken. I died in the swamps of Bleen. Only by her hand was I lifted up to do her work. That I am here with you, an ally. This is proof that her will is still unyielding. Yes.
I can respect your faith, and at the same time, based on the evidence, I don't know if that's true. She bit you in the face, calling you her greatest disappointment. So we don't know where she stands. However, clearly there is a part of her, at the very least, that still supports you, whether she's aware of it, whether she's secretly battling what's going on. We don't know, but there is hope. Just very, very little of it. It's a candle flame in a hurricane.
Speaking of, cold wind begins to blow as you come out into open water. And on the horizon, the sky is darkening. A heavy rain is beginning to fall. And with those heavy words lingering in the air, you slowly drift into the storm.
This episode of Curse Code and Crowd Sound was mixed and edited by Laura Hemstra, and the campaign was created by Tom McGee. Our original theme music was composed by Landon Knoblock, and Curse Code and Crown's logo was created by the brilliant Decapitated Markers. If you want to follow our players or our DM on Twitter, you can reach out to Laura at EL Hamstring, Ryan at the Ryan LaPlante, Tyler at Tyler_Hewitt, Tom McGee at McGeeTD, or you can message our whole company at DumDumDice. So please, join us again for more Curse, Code, and Crown!
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. Christian Menicola, Long Long, The Half-Blind Prophet, James Cuellar, Charles Grams, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Lord Abradovic, Noel Lewis, Scott Garland, Anthony Griffin, Chet Awesome Laser, Jordan Neesmith, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Taryn Hefner, Cade Peters, Richard Cranium, Christian Mendez, Anna Zed, Eric Williams, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Great Dane, Acrix, Cameron Ezel, Grandma Likes D&D, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.